A man does something, it's strategic. A woman does the same thing, it's calculated.
Taylor Swift done fucked up. Again, I've kept very limited knowledge about this on
No,
purpose.
no, it's fine. Because honestly, like, you don't even have to know everything that's going on. People are asking me, what is your deal with Taylor Swift? There are things, your audience may not know this, but there are things that Taylor Swift did to, yes, if we want to use the term bully or persecute or make life difficult for or harass Justin Baldoni, there are things that it is alleged that she did. And there's actually like textual evidence coming out confirming this. Taylor Swift basically ambushed Justin Baldoni at the penthouse of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. He was called there for what was supposed to be just a creative meeting, a business meeting about the film. And as it turns out, there was this dispute, this ongoing dispute between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni about the creative vision of the film, because Blake Lively wanted to basically take the job of director and editor and a bunch of other jobs too. I mean, she was wanting to design the costumes, costume styling, all of that. I mean, she was run amok. She basically wanted this thing to be her vanity project. And she thought that Baldoni, because he was a very much of a novice still in Hollywood in a lot of ways, and because he had this sunny, hippie, Baha'i outlook on the world, she thought that she could just run all over him. And to a large degree, she did. So anyway, point is, Taylor Swift shows up. There's this creative dispute. Taylor Swift just happens to show up at the penthouse at that time, in time to apparently argue with Baldoni. I would say almost berate him so much that he actually, I believe he said in a follow-up DM or text to someone that he had almost cried or he had almost had a panic attack or something. And I know people can shrug that off and be like, oh, what a wuss or whatever. But like, the point is, these two women and Ryan Reynolds, they set in on him at that penthouse. Ryan Reynolds apparently had lost his temper with Baldoni to such a degree that an executive who was there, who was present for a little while, or maybe it was a different occasion, said that he had never seen anyone that out of control as he had seen Ryan Reynolds in terms of inexcusable outbursts toward Baldoni. So Taylor Swift participated in this ambush, as I call it. And Taylor Swift also, there are texts, we can look at this in a minute, but there's a conversation between Blake Lively and Taylor where Taylor says, I cannot believe that Justin Baldoni is letting me do a song for this movie, because you know what? I'm really in your corner. He's basically upsetting the power structure here. He's bringing someone into this who's going to really fight for you, Blake, and he doesn't know what he's doing. And they're like laughing at him behind his back in this really manipulative way. So Taylor Swift is not a nice girl by any definition. If you see what she's been doing here, and by the way, I have my Taylor Swift wig. I think I'm going to retire it. I think I'm going to, after this episode, retire the wig, because it's getting, even for Blake Lively, it's getting a little too frizzy.
All right. Well, now we'll look at some of this stuff here in a second, but you know what else I saw? Again, I didn't look at the text specifically just yet, but I heard them described and saw some of she's been getting dragged. You've been getting on top of the story in a big way. I saw that Sony executives had kind of thrown Blake Lively under the bus as well, and said she was being basically petulant and not protecting the project. I believe the quote, and I saw it in a blurb on Twitter, was, you know, she brought it on herself. She brought all this heat on herself, and she could have just been like every other star pretty much in the history of Hollywood and protected the show, quote unquote, and promoted it. And then maybe later on, if you want to talk your shit or whatever, okay, the time for money making's over now. It still made $350 million, but
dude, it did so well for being a shitty movie. I mean, it's a terrible movie.
They were tracking. They wanted it to make even more than that, but and plus, I guess they lost some money on the promo. I don't know. It's a longer story there, but she banned him from the premiere. He couldn't come to the premiere of his own film. Just a weird promotional run there, all in general. And this needs to be mentioned too. Baldoni worked hard to convince the author to give him the rights to the movie so that he could make that movie. And, you know, he's the one that was bringing it to the screen. It's kind of like his baby or whatever. And then they got the author to kind of, I don't say disown him, but basically take their side, take the Lively, take the Swift side.
Her reputation has really taken a nosedive, Colleen Hoover, because apparently she and Baldoni had a long-standing multi-year relationship. As you said, he was developing this project and hoping to bring it to fruition, right? And so it was long-standing for over a course of years. Everything is great. She's singing his praises, vice versa. And then suddenly, when Blake Lively enters the scene, then you start seeing Colleen Hoover turning against Justin Baldoni, and she starts complaining about things that have never been an issue before and taking things. The audience may want to know, like, what exactly is he accused of? I'll tell you, it's really silly stuff. Here's an example. Okay, there is a love scene between a young version, younger versions of the two central characters, all right, in the film. And it's a romantic scene. And I think it takes place, according to the book, when they're in their late teens, right? And so it's a sex scene, right? And so it's very tasteful. It's not explicit. There's nothing raunchy about it or whatever. Well, what about the worst thing that Baldoni is accused of by these actresses is that apparently after the scene was concluded, and there were intimacy coordinators and all that stuff, right? But after the scene was concluded, Baldoni said, I probably shouldn't say this, but that was hot. That is the worst thing, literally the worst thing he's accused of. And so when you see like what Blake's accused him of, it's stuff that's like, first of all, not even a big deal. Or second of all, it's stuff that she's flat out lied about. She lied and she said that one of the producers who worked for Baldoni's company was going around showing video, basically that it reminded her of porn, naked videos of his wife. Well, then it turns out in the reply from Baldoni's side and what emerged, and even in evidence that was video evidence that was turned over to the court, it was his wife's home birth. They were doing a birthing scene in the film. They wanted to give it like a real feminist aspect, right? And so they were talking about what's the appropriate or good way to show this experience. And he was showing someone, look, this is when my wife had our child. It was this beautiful experience, etc. Paige, if you want to go to my Twitter, have you seen the video of her? It's a montage of her talking about her feminist beliefs, asserting that women she in particular, and many women are just trapped by, I sent it to you, are just trapped by the patriarchy. Awesome. And I find the whole narrative about her and Scooter Braun and the supposed terrible injustice, that's BS.
I was going to bring that up because actually this will sound weird, but Perez Hilton, somehow a video of his popped up in my feed last night. And he was apologizing to Scooter Braun. He mentioned Taylor's publicist put out a flat out lie and said Taylor had nothing to do with any of this when it all broke. And this is bullshit, basically. And that type of statement doesn't get put out without Taylor's direct permission, right? And go ahead on it. And, she is caught in a flat out lie. So been better not to say anything.
The texts show that she was not just reacting to Blake Lively and cheering her on, but that the two were actually actively plotting. This is Blake Lively's history, by the way. She has admitted that when she and Penn Badgley, an ex-boyfriend of hers, when she and Penn Badgley started working on Gossip Girl, that she originally had developed initially a very strong dislike for him. And she, in her own words, Blake Lively has said, you can find the interview out there, that she turned the cast against him, that she sought to turn everyone against Penn Badgley and depicted him as being a bad guy. Now, guess what? And you're right. The Sony executives said in those documents that were released that it was her fault. She brought all of this on herself. That's what's crazy. It's like Candace Owens.
Yes. Yeah, there was no need for it. And she already basically got all what she wanted to, and she kept going and going during the promotional tour. Okay, let me pull this video.
She just writes songs about her ex-boyfriends, and I think, frankly, that's a very sexist angle to take. No one says that about Ed Sheeran. No one says it about Bruno Mars. They're all writing songs about their exes. No one raises a red flag there.
If a guy shares his experience in writing, he's brave. If a woman shares her experience in writing, she's oversharing. She's over-emotional, or she might be crazy. Watch out, she'll write a song about you.
There's a different vocabulary for men and women. A man does something, it's strategic. A woman does the same thing, it's calculated. A man is allowed to react. A woman can only overreact.
The most rage-provoking element of being a female is the gaslighting. For centuries, we've been just expected to absorb male behavior. Silent absorption of whatever any guy decides to do. Oh, I have absolutely no right to respond, or I'm angry. I have no right to respond, or I'm out of line. That response is treated like the offense itself.
You could tweet the word hello Swifties would be like, yes, queen.
No, it's a tough
Have you
life.
ever heard someone say about a male artist, I really like his songs, but I don't know what it is. There's just something about him I don't like. We are held at a higher, sometimes impossible feeling
I have
standard.
heard that actually.
This is the worst here.
Fuck the patriarchy.
Oh,
Yeah, I have heard that said about a male singer, actually, Colonel Kurtz, and I don't know. It's such a tough life.
Well, the male singers have their own kinds of pressures for yourself, but all of this whining about patriarchy and stuff from a woman who is a billionaire and arguably the most successful recording artist of our time. Like, how, if you got all that oppression, how the hell did you get to be a billionaire then? It just doesn't compute. I'm sorry. If that's oppression, give me that oppression. I will take that mantle, that burden on.
Yeah, it's so tough. I mean, there are pressures, I'm sure, being
Sure,
Taylor's,
pressures aren't the patriarchy bearing down on her. I can assure her of that. So anyway, you look at the stuff that she did with, I think basically what happened with Justin Baldoni is he's an easy target. He was like a lamb to the slaughter. I hope he learned some lessons about getting in touch with his id moving forward, because I think that was a bit lacking in this situation, and letting go of some of that the modern victim of feminist BS. And so, that made him a good target too. And I think, going forward though, like, this is still bad for Blake. Most people still hate her. I guess she's still able to make some films, but her reputation, even Ryan Reynolds' reputation, with a lot of people, is as either negative or as a kind of a joke, a sideshow with this whole thing. And it is currently going to trial in May.
Play this. I see you have a clip of her with Travis Kelce.
Dude, I'll give her this when she's talking about her craft. I watched this show, the 2-hour show, off and on. And when she's talking about her craft, she's really insightful. I think but everything else, it's like talking to a sixth grader. I think what we're seeing is someone who from a very early age was just totally focused on performance, and that's great. And it's made her super successful. But I do think she's rather undeveloped in other areas, which comes out, in kind of the way she conducts her life.
Oh, I specialize, as you know, in children's purses and baby blankets. I make 2 things, and that's
I know
it.
that very well.
The sourdough's taken over my life in a huge way. I'm really talking about bread 60% of the time now. It's become a huge factor.
I mean, and she's getting good with making all these different versions of it.
Oh yeah.
My favorite one was probably, the regular sourdough is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, don't leave that out.
Yeah, we do. There's a blueberry lemon, cinnamon swirl, cinnamon raisin,
banana nut bread, bitch.
and
Come on.
but it's like, I just didn't know this. There's people like me out there, and
Not too many.
This is where the internet is good. This is where the internet is a good place where you can curate a reality where, like, all I really use.
Curate a reality.
I want a wild otter so bad.
Okay, look, I think we've seen enough there. You're not muted.
The way that the Kelsey brothers cackle after everything that she says. And like I said, 10, 15 seconds, maybe it'd be kind of like, okay, haha, your girlfriend or whatever has a mild sense of humor, however slightly dorky. But like, it just keeps going on and on. And it's like, I really think that it comes down to growing up with a lifetime of basically yes men and yes women around you. There develops a kind of an orbit around this person. And even if they don't all have yes men working for them, like, everything is sort of always feeding off of or related to the central figure. And I feel like growing up like that, that's been Taylor Swift since she was in her early or mid-teens. I think growing up like that and living like that, you can see that she just thinks everyone hangs on her every word, and that her every word is just inspired and brilliant. And if you can see the way that Blake Lively was sucking up to Taylor, that's the other thing, is the way that, they were mutually sucking up to each other, which just goes to show you, this is so obviously, a lot of these relationships are just about like celebrity, like just narcissism. Right.
Yes.
And so, like, for example, here, I'm just going to read just a bit of this dialogue here. She says, Blake says to Taylor, get yourself a best friend who thinks like the actual Roman Empire. Like the actual Roman Empire, because they were in the middle of their scheming and stuff, right? And so they're talking about this, and we've got, we're one-upping him with this. Taylor says this to her. She says, by the way, this is Taylor Swift now. By the way, if Justin was strategic, he would be like, no Taylor Swift in the trailer, because she was doing a song for the trailer, right? No Taylor Swift in the trailer, because that gives you, Blake, you more power over the film. That's your ally in there, not his. And then in response to that, Blake says to her, get yourself a best friend who thinks like the actual Roman Empire. You've got these women also who, I guess they think they're so clever with their little Roman Empire references. I doubt. Do you think that they know who Suetonius is, though?
No.
But you have a situation where Taylor Swift is basically, to my mind, bullying here. Listen to what they're about to say. They're about to start laughing about some lies that they told Baldoni, because in this debate, this argument that they were having over the film, she actually flat out starts lying to Baldoni. They do, and carrying on this charade in front of him, and now they're giggling over it. So here's what she says. Blake says, "You were so epically heroic today. I recapped every moment to Ryan. I kept remembering stuff. You, Taylor, making shit up about me and lenses. I don't know what that's do, camera lenses or something. And referring to yourself as my doll. The clown, Baldoni, this clown falling for it, but also resisting it. You are the world's absolute greatest friend ever. I won the lottery." This is Blake talking to Taylor about some scam that they were running on Baldoni here. And then Taylor responds, "I won the lottery," in big all caps. "I won the lottery. You are the all caps coolest person in the world, and you like me," with exclamation points. Then, in response to this, Blake Lively provides an actual cartoon photo of Aladdin. And I don't know what the hell it has to do with anything. It's Aladdin kind of like looking happy. So I haven't seen Aladdin in a while. I don't know if that reference.
That's like everything. It's like a mocking skit of Hollywood culture too.
It is, dude. Someone needs to do a Les Grossman style skit on this or something, because it's already like an SNL skit. The way that these two women talk to each other, the level of, at the same time that they're being Machiavellian and conniving, they're also being completely vacuous and stupid, right? And so it's that combination.
You're the greatest. No, you're the greatest. Oh, we're both so lucky. Also, let's
jerk each other off. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Mutual jerking society there. I was going to use that term a minute ago.
With him, the editors were completely intimidated and freaked out by Blake Lively, because they were supposed to be in charge of the editing, and Blake Lively, who had no official editing credit, is coming into the editing room, is demanding that she be given days in the editing room to do her own cut. She does her own cut of the film that is now in competition with the cut that the director and the editors came up with. A test screening is done because she bullies Sony. Blake Lively and her team bully Sony into giving it equal consideration. A test screening is done, and guess which one the audience preferred? They preferred the Baldoni properly edited version. And I don't know if it had been any better or not. Film's not very good, but point is, Sony goes to Blake Lively, and they say to her, basically, yours didn't test as well. Let's go with this one. And she throws a complete freaking fit, and she starts turning up the heat on these complaints, these sexual harassment, these toxic workplace complaints, and pretty much flat out threatens Sony and says, there are two ways this can go, with me causing absolute hell and havoc for you, or for you giving me what I want.
I think she's in big trouble in Hollywood. When executives are talking like that about you, it's not a good thing. This whole thing just seems like it was totally unnecessary, and Blake Lively
it totally was. It was like the
tripping.
Candace Owens thing, dude. It was like someone who things were going along great. Like the movie made so much money.
Yeah.
And if Blake had just had not started playing these games, she would be lauded as this genius businesswoman who helped bring this whole thing together and everything. And she's like ruined herself for no reason.